Clinging to an identity is a form of self-imprisonment. This is how we imprison ourselves. This is how we may have imprisoned others. This is how we are imprisoned by others and also put inside of a box. It is a way of resistance and great limitation as well. I'm going to share a little bit of an exercise towards the end of this video. This is going to be about reclaiming and understanding the identity and how we maybe have clung to identities, how this blocks us from our purpose here. Our identity is spiritual before it is physical. It is something that is within. It is not the body. It is not the choices of the past. It is not our hair, our skin color. It is not anything that we've done. It is not how we were raised, okay? Our identity is how we are recognized in the name of truth. Our body plays a role in the purpose that we came here to live. Our skin color, our gender, our hair type, everything about us does play a role in identification, but it is only a small percentage of it. That is not who you actually are. If somebody claims that they are a divorcee, for example, you are not a divorcee. You once got married and then divorced, and that is a choice or a decision or an action that was taken in the past, but that is not who you are. If you came across a woman, for example, who is the most beautiful thing that you have ever seen, ever, she is perfect, flawless, her hair, her body type, her skin, just everything about her, her eyes is absolutely beautiful. And let's say that this is how she identified herself. I'm beautiful. That's it. I look beautiful. My appearance is everything. You would know that she's very shallow, right? Well, many are claiming these shallow identities, except these identities are oftentimes negative in appearance, in the way that we were raised. And what happens when we are not taught as children what identity is, we are always striving for things and people and what everyone else has that seems so perfect. Why does everybody want what somebody else has and is not happy with what they have? And this begins in childhood, primarily at age 3, throughout our entire life, and youth, absolutely, and also between ages 14 and 21. Clinging onto an identity is also clinging onto a role, but your true identity should be able to play many roles when you are called to it, which is at all times. Your identity is in this present moment right now. Clinging to an identity is like it's refusing to put a book down. It's reading a book and saying, I'm not putting this down, and I want a new story, I want a husband, I want a wife, I want all this, but I haven't let go of this role. You will find this is very common in, how you can maybe recognize this is jumping from one relationship to the next, for example. This is still clinging onto a role or an identity. It's just jumping ship. It's still holding on to this mask, jumping ship from Christian to witch or witch to Christian. This is quite literally just jumping into a new identity, but that is not, or a role, but that is not your identity. Your identity is not what you do. So if you were standing right before the face of God or Jesus, okay, and Jesus is like, who are you, right? What would you give Jesus? What would you be offering? Is it the choices you made? Is it your practices? Is it what you're doing? Or is it something much, much deeper? Your identity is deeply, deeply within before it manifests in the physical, before you can see it. But when we do not know our identity and who we really are, we are trying to act, and create from places that is not even who we really are. That is not even really what we came here to do. And nobody was taught identity when we were young and how to understand what it is, much less accept our identity. This is also why we may wind up in great disappointment, because we are going after things and claiming roles and identities, which is kind of locking us into this position that was really never meant to be claimed. You want to claim authority in what you have authority over, and that is what you have been given. So this ID, this part of our soul, all came from the same place. So yes, your name plays a huge part in your destiny and your purpose, but it can work through all different people, tribes, situations, relationships. Your heart is incredibly multidimensional. So you should be able to tap into all these realities, all these different parts of yourself at any given moment. But your identity is in the present moment. Identity theft and identity loss begins in childhood for many, if not for most. What happens when we experience trauma, or maybe it can be something like an accident, a physical trauma, a psychological trauma, an emotional trauma. Also, I have mentioned this many times, when a woman gives childbirth, for example, these are all traumas of the body. So when these pieces of our soul, or the heart is shattered from heartbreak, any reason that's going to fragment the soul, this is fragmenting the identity. The identity is splitting off. This is why one will feel lost or confused whenever this happens in life. But again, for many, this happens in childhood, which allows some type of form to come in and plant a false seed. All it takes is one false seed to be planted, that somebody may split off onto another path that they were never meant to. And this begins in these unhealed wounds as well. Our body is a tool. It is a highly advanced technology that has been given to us on an individual basis to complete our purpose. So even though we are given the hair color, the skin color, and everything else to complete our purpose, we do not want to deny these parts of ourselves, deny these attributes. We don't want to deny our gender or our skin color, or go against it, or take too much pride in it. We want to have a very detached understanding of our role and purpose here, but also value that at the same time. There are spirits, right, who do not have a body. They would do anything for the opportunity. They are floating around haunting people, or maybe helping, but for the most part, they do not have this vessel. This is your opportunity to live out your purpose. This is a blessing in itself, but it is not something we want to cling to. This can be incredibly harmful. Clinging to an identity or a false identity is so extremely harmful. This is when a lot of people project onto other people as well. If you are clinging onto false identities about yourself, you are absolutely reading other people wrong. People will jump to conclusions based on stereotypes. If you remind somebody of somebody else that they didn't like, they may attach that identity to you based on that experience or that trauma. This is one example of clinging to an identity or a stereotype. Those who are clinging onto false identities project those on to others. And this is all about ego, but ego is not always arrogance at all whatsoever. This is something that we put up as walls of protection as well. So a lot of times these masks, these walls of protection, are based on trauma, right? So it is not until we release that trauma that we can release that identity. And a lot of times people experience a lot more pain in leaving a relationship, for example, or a cycle, or a job, or anything else. They experience far more pain than necessary. It's because the identity, the ego that one is refusing to let go of on top of it, or it is that is painful. It is letting go of that identity and that role and accepting that it's over. That can be very difficult. So we wind up in places and experiences and jobs and so on, in relationships longer than necessary because we refuse to let that go. If you said, I am a feminist, I am a Christian, I am spiritual, people are going to base their false belief of what that means to you if they do not have a detachment from identity. This is all stereotypes. So if you're spiritual, one may assume that you are into crystals and worshiping the moon, and that maybe nothing of the truth at all, or that if you are a feminist that you hate men, because there are feminists that do hate men and that do act that way, and they have taken on this identity that says, I am a feminist, I am a Christian, I am spiritual. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be claiming anything about yourself that is not part of your true identity. Your identity is how you are known and recognized by the Most High. And again, your name has a huge part in your destiny here. Your true identity and your true purpose is revealed to you as you let go of the false roles and false identities. It's like it cannot fully come in until you're willing to let that go. And a lot of letting that go is letting go of the pain that came along with that role. So sometimes it is difficult to let go of that role because that means you have to let go of the pain and everything that you thought you knew that was with it. And this is something that is really big when it comes to letting go of relationships or breaking up or going through a divorce. It is saying, I am not in that role anymore. One practice that I wanted to give to you today is to write down. You will need to do this by yourself, alone, in the dark, or with music on, but maybe just a little light, a little candlelight, enough for you to be able to write down some of the most memorable experiences and relationships that you have had in your life. So this can be a best friend, this can be maybe somebody you loved and suddenly lost, but things that have made a very dominant effect, and when possibly a seed was planted, as well as likely what is going to happen in these experiences. A seed, for better or for worse, this seed was planted. So we want to test these seeds, okay? We want to test the people and experiences and relationships we have in our life. It's very difficult to test these and test the identity of others when we do not know our identity. So that is for in the future as well. But in all of these experiences, I want you to write down what it is that you learn about yourself in these experiences, not the other person. Because a lot of times we will say, this person did this to me, this person did that to me, or this ruined me, this demolished me. We're claiming all of these things, okay? But that has nothing to do with the true identity. So I want you, in every single experience that crosses your brain and your mind and your heart, okay? I want you to reflect what this tells about you. What does this show about you as a person and who you are and your identity? So I also want you to look at your past relationships and figure out what it was you had in common with these people. A lot of the things that we learned in childhood tells us a lot about our purpose here and our true identity. Not necessarily the experiences we went through, but what this tells about you, okay? About who you are. I can give you one minor example for myself was when I switched schools as a child, and me and another girl bonded immediately, becoming best friends. And right off the bat, how we identified each other was we were talking about what planet we were from and that we were from the same planet and which animals that we liked. Okay, well, much further down the road, I recognized how much animals have played a big part of my life before I met her and jobs after. But I didn't put this all together until many, many, many years later. You can ask your subconscious and say, reveal to me what it is in my memories that I need to connect to right now to reveal my identity. What are the most life-changing experiences and relationships and friendships that I had? Just like you are not your actions, these people that played a major role in your life, they are not their actions either. It is, what did this relationship and experience and their role in your life teach you about you? You're taking back the parts of you that were left behind in these relationships and these traumatic experiences, for better or for worse. When we experience loss, again, any type of heartbreak, you want to call those pieces of yourself back to you. Children who are raised in a financially, psychologically, and emotionally safe and supportive home and environment typically do not struggle so much with identity loss or going down the wrong path. But it is high time that we are also teaching our children to be comfortable in their body, in their skin color, with their gender, with the home that they are raised in the environment that they are raised in, with the family that they are raised in, on the financial status that they are raised in. Because it is beginning in childhood that we begin believing that somebody else has it better. We start wanting other things of the world that just so happen to appear perfect, but denying the body, denying the present moment, denying the situation in the family that we are born into, that is self-denial of one's purpose. Everybody wants perfect right now, but a lot of these hardships and environments that we are born into are a huge part of our purpose in our role. This does not declare or decide our identity, however. There is a difference. So we must understand as well how to detach from the idea that we are what we have, our financial status, and anything else of the environment that we were raised in. It is comparison. This is a big root cause of mistaken identity. And the example I'm going to give is through reviews. You know, I'm also an esthetician, and let's use products as an example. If I use a mascara, you can go online and log into any reviews. None of these are authentic reviews. These are all rooted in comparison, okay, for the most part. It is, this mascara absolutely sucks compared to this that I normally use. And every time people are applying a new mascara, typically are comparing it to something they have already used. And if it is better than what they were using previously, the chances of them saying that it is a much better mascara and higher quality when it is actually not, it is better for them, right? This can lead to a false review. If that mascara is worse than what they were using, they're going to say, this mascara is complete trash. I hate it. It's the worst mascara I have ever used. And then even further, people are reading those reviews and basing their understanding of how good or bad this mascara is based on somebody else's experience, but it's false. So we do this with identity as well, and also when we are comparing ourselves, our experience, where we came from, what we have, what we don't have, what we look like, to other people. I also used to do clinical testing for products as well. A lot of these companies are funded for promo, and this is why people will also buy products and say it absolutely sucks because they listened to the media about it or to what was being promoted online. They're listening to what other people said because a lot of this is paid. This is also what happens when we do not take ourselves or others at face value. Okay, this is a mistaken identity. When we take something for better or worse than what it is, when we are comparing somebody to somebody else that we knew, when we are comparing ourselves, our life, our experiences, our appearance, anything else to others or to what others have.